From the First Coast News Studios, this is On Point with your host Shannon Ogden.
And I'm Keitha Nelson in for Shannon Ogden. The U.S. House Ethics Committee unanimously voted to investigate Jacksonville area Congresswoman Corrine Brown. The subcommittee formed to do this will determine whether Congresswoman Brown broke the law or violated code of conduct with respect to allegations that she engaged in improper conduct relating to certain outside organizations, including allegations that she may have conspired with others in connection with fraudulent activity, improperly solicited charitable donations, and used campaign funds for personal use. Now, earlier this year, the head of the dubious charity in Virginia with ties to Brown pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit fraud and agreed to testify in the ongoing probe. Authorities say that a nonprofit raised some $800,000 from different fundraisers, but gave out only a single $1,000 scholarship, which it claimed was the purpose of the organization. And joining us now is attorney Richard Kirsch to shed some light on all of this situation. Thanks so much for joining us, Richard.
You're very welcome.
You know, we know that Corrine earlier today spoke in Tallahassee about a redistricting hearing. When asked about this in particular, the allegation, she said,
Sure.
I cannot talk about this.
Right.
My attorneys tell me not to. And you and I spoke a little earlier. You
Sure.
said that's the best thing to do at this point.
Oh, absolutely. And I know her attorney, and he's a great attorney. So he's absolutely giving her the best advice possible. And you know, cases like this, the less you speak, the better.
Yeah.
And that's what we got with her. So I'm glad that she's following her attorney's advice, because so many times our clients do not.
Yeah.
So I'm happy about that.
You and I are going to speak about this one today, though, because
Sure.
there's so many possibilities with how this could play out.
Sure.
In particular, I want to talk about the House Ethics Committee. They formed a subcommittee to look into things, but then the Department of Defense, they stepped in and said, hold on, not so fast.
Sure.
Why would the Department of Defense step into a case like this?
Well, and it's not the Department of Defense, it's Department of Justice.
Yes, okay. Mm-hmm.
And that's a prosecutorial arm of the federal government.
Yes.
Okay. Which leads us to think that there must be something more going on. Obviously, if the person up in Virginia has pled guilty to illegal activities and is tied to Corrine Brown, then obviously one would think, and I use the word obviously someone would think that there may be some basis for a criminal investigation. So that's, as a criminal defense lawyer, and if I get a letter from the Department of Justice saying stand down, then I have some serious concerns for my client.
Definitely. I want to talk about the process, though. What could happen at this point? What's the next step?
Sure. Well, at this point, I mean, it's an investigation, and you know, we're all, you know, innocent until proven guilty. So, and then we should always give Corrine Brown that as well. And so we should not be jumping on the bandwagon suggesting that she's done anything wrong. So I'm totally against that idea. But what could happen next is basically the ethics investigation is going to stop. The Department of Justice is going to begin their investigation. And it could be a civil investigation to which there could be fines and penalties assessed, or it could be a criminal investigation. My concern is it's happened so rare in the setting when it comes to congressmen that it is a criminal situation. So we don't know that yet, but if history repeats itself, then it could be a criminal investigation.
The Department of Justice did ask the House Ethics Committee to defer on this, so it could still happen later on moving forward. They can look into this.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the Department of Justice may clear her of any allegations. I mean, they're a federal prosecutorial arm. They're going to investigate. They may investigate and realize that there's nothing for them to be concerned about, and then toss it back to the Ethics Committee and say, we're done here. You decide if she's violated any of your rules, but she's not violated any of our criminal laws or federal laws. So that could very well happen.
Now, this is not the first time that Congresswoman Brown has been looked into by the Ethics Committee. Remember back in 2000, she got into a little bit of hot water with an African businessman. Will that be held against her?
Yes, is the simple answer to that, because it's just like anything else. You know, if I'm going to look into you, I'm going to see what you've done in your past. And if she's done something in her past that caused some great concern, then they're going to tweak it up a notch, so to speak, in their investigation. So yes, that could come back and haunt her.
What do you see happening moving forward?
At this point, what's going to happen is the Ethics Committee is going to do nothing. The Department of Justice is going to begin their investigation. They've already been issuing subpoenas. They served her at Bono's the other night. They're looking into, obviously, the group in Virginia that she was affiliated with. So it's just going to be an investigation portion aspect of it. I'd expect a lot of people are going to be getting phone calls, maybe grand jury subpoenas, things of that nature, but I don't expect anything major to happen in the next 30 days.
Now, Richard, you're not directly involved in this case, but you've had your hands similar cases to this
Certainly.
one. When you initially saw the allegations come out, were you surprised by this? What was going through your mind?
No, I mean, it's politics at its finest.
Okay.
I mean, and that's the way I think she's trying to sell it as well, is, you know, when you have a situation like this where we're talking about major issues dealing with the redistricting and things that she's done, whenever she has done things in the past, this the kind of thing pops up again, and so I think she thinks it's totally political. So it very well may be, and there was a phrase that we learned in law school, is that politics makes strange bedfellows, and so it could be simply that, and it may all go away, it may all get thrown back to ethics committee, or it could turn into something much bigger.
She's had more than 2 decades in office at this point. I mean, what do you see really happening in this one?
Well, no, I think, well, she's obviously been very outspoken, and she's saying that she's running again. She's saying she's done nothing wrong, and that's, you know, I want to believe that. She's been 2 decades in office. She had the issue previously, and hopefully she's learned a lot over that process, and so hopefully all is well, and she's done nothing wrong, and we don't have to worry about it, and life will move forward. And then there's still the concern that something really did happen.
Right. Last words, Richard?
Sure. At this point, you know, it's like I talk about. When you're, just because somebody's under investigation doesn't mean that they've actually done something wrong, because people become under investigation all the time. I've had grand juries indict people for first-degree murder, and then I've had the case entirely dropped. Okay, so just because somebody's under investigation, or just because some authorities comes out and says, you know, alleges that you've done something, doesn't mean that they really have. And when the evidence truly comes out, it could go totally different than what everybody believes. So I say to everybody, wait, be patient, and let them do their investigation.
It's interesting you say that, because today one of our reporters, Ann Schindler in Tallahassee, asked Corrine, does she think that after all of this, if she's going to come out clean? And Corrine quickly said with her hand on her hip, yeah, of course I'm clean.
Sure. Well, and I saw Ann Schindler at lunch yesterday, and no, I think she totally believes that. And hopefully that's what's going to happen. I mean, we don't want, you know, any more bad publicity for Jacksonville, and Corrine's been our representative for 23 years, and so we hope that all is going to be well, and I like her sense of confidence, and I hope that it works out that way.
In the meantime, we'll all keep a very close eye on this one.
Absolutely, and there's a real good chance we'll talk about this again soon.
Oh yeah,
yes.
You'll be back here. We'll draw you back in.
I will draw me in, and I'll be happy to be here.
Thanks for that, Richard. And next up, the session is over. Lawmakers are no longer in Tallahassee. One of them, though, is right here in studio. Senator Audrey Gibson joins us up next.